Call to order the meeting of the Finance and Human Resources Committee is Monday, August 17th, 4:30. If I could have you stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Daniels, please excuse. Ermeling?
Here.
Manal?
Here.
Olson?
Here.
Travalco?
Here.
Riker? Here.
Okay, public comments. I have one. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Being a Jim Pencil, 502 Earl Street, Weston. I appreciate the thorough breakdown of the IT department budget. I'm concerned about the lack of information relating in this report. Almost all reports prepared by staff similar to this on how much staff time is actually involved in performing some of the tasks mentioned in this report. I respect the fact that we're creating an application tailored to Weston in-house. However, it does not state any quantification or calculation of the cost to do so. The staff members getting paid regardless, I understand that, but we need to start looking at these tasks and duties with a different approach. If the director gets paid $80,000 annually, with benefits that likely cost us over $100,000 per year for that position. Using simple math and rounding, let's estimate an all-in hourly cost of $50 per hour. If it took him 2 weeks or 80 hours, that's $4,000 in payroll and fringe benefits. That dollar amount matters. Let's say it took longer than 2 weeks. Did we actually realize a cost savings to design this web application versus buying it outside? This type of analysis needs to start happening globally throughout the village. You will see in the Board of Trustees packet the most generic cost breakdown for the pool. It does not show any details on where the money, which was shown as income, originated. It fails to point out that $40,000 came from tourism. It doesn't account for the $40,000 from the general fund. It does not state how much money, if any, is generated from the sales of concessions. Equally as important is the copious amount of staff time involved in the startup and shutdown of the pool. We have a bunch of man hours in this, likely hundreds of hours. That costs real money. Why is this not being identified and tracked? The decisions you make as a committee can only be as good as the information provided to you. You are trusting the information to be complete and accurate. However, there are things omitted from the real data set. It is not reasonable for this group to make educated financial decisions in the best interest of the village without having a complete and accurate set of data and facts to base that decision on. I would ask that this body request that before making financial decisions, request that before making financial decisions. Data-backed decisions are what we need to be making. Feelings should have no place in finance. Speaking to the budget, I really like how staff put together a wish list of what directors would like to see. I'm highly concerned with this though. First, there's almost no mention of the cost on the items. Furthermore, how do we pay for any of it? Adding staff, robotic lawnmowers, going a different direction with the aquatic center, all of this will have a cost associated with it. Sadly, here we are engulfed in budget season, and we're just now deciding to make this wish list, which is not fleshed out enough to make educated decisions. I look forward to seeing how this conversation on the budget moves forward. Thank you.
Any other public comments online? Okay, and for approval of minutes from the previous finance and HR meeting. Motion to approve. Motion to approve by Ermeling. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Brent.
Second by Minell. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now at work product transmissions, the July budget status report. Jessica, anything else on that? Questions for Jessica?
I was looking at, I had some note here and I don't remember which category it was under. I'm sorry. I think it was the utility funds. That was, no, I think it's a different, must be a different.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different
Which one's part?
item. I had questions. There was a a report and I'm sorry, I almost forgot it and I grabbed my little note here without referring what number of the agenda it was under. And it was regarding the water utility revenues and expense, and they had 25 versus 26. So where was I looking? Do you know?
July?
Okay, that could be. Anyway, the question had been because the revenues versus expenses, there was revenue of 395,689, and the following year it was 2,192,768, and I was wondering
So
why.
if you look at the spreadsheet that's up on the screen, you can see the 2026.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
2025 revenue. And if you read the notes above PFAS, we got more PFAS money last year, so that would be a significant change.
Okay, and then the same with the expenses were up.
Expenses went up.
Yeah, okay. All right. I thought there was a logical, but I was reading so many minutes, got lost after a while. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussions? Handle all three of these together unless there's any objection. Number 6, TIF 1 and TIF 2 detailed reports for July. Jessica, anything you want to add? Anybody have questions for Jessica?
Are you getting close to the final numbers on the expenses for TIF 1?
Yes. I guess I would point out for TIF one, we did make the grant payouts for Tommy Docks and for Eau Claire River. That we had a developers agreement and we were paying those grant funds off based on the tax increment received each year from those two projects. But with the closing of the TIF, we paid out the rest of the development this year. So that's why there's a large number there.
Any others?
Brent,
Yes.
can I request that when Jessica is speaking, that she has a microphone, she's gonna be presenting a lot of information, and we have a lot of microphones that.
Yep. Barbara's happy to give hers up. it sounds
Yeah.
like.
There and then because you're quiet too, I'll grab this one, if that's okay.
Now, how do you know Christina isn't quiet?
My first meeting, probably just going to listen.
Okay, moving on to number 7, legal details for July. Just for some background on this for our new members and then also for Steve. Last month, we had discussed if we wanted to continue to see this specific report at this committee. Ultimately, that was brought to the Board of Trustees following our meeting that same day. And the Board of Trustees moved and is wanting this committee to continue to review the legal details on a monthly basis. Biggest reasons behind it is just simply that there's eyes on it. This isn't really reported out anywhere else. And I know historically, when there's been some larger charges on here, I know this committee has had discussions on what those costs were and what we were spending it on. So going forward, we will continue to see this report with this committee. Any questions, discussion on number 7?
Do we ever put any of that information back, our monies back? I'm just curious if, as an example, Wandering Springs, is that with the neighborhood or is that a?
Yeah.
Flat? So those legal fees that are being charged are being reflected here. Do we also show then if we recover that as part of the developer's agreement? Or does that get lost?
That is a great question for Jamie or Jessica.
You don't show it on this report, but I also don't think it's often that those are recouped.
I don't believe we charge for that.
Yeah.
Unless it's through the developer agreement, I have no idea.
Why wouldn't we charge them on the developer's agreement?
Go ahead, Michael.
This one for Wandering Springs goes back to like the 1998 Wandering Springs West, where there's still a couple outlots that are in the developer's name and not the village's. So that's what this one is trying to get those
The Leskies?
correct. So there's still some properties that show up as gold key investments that were supposed to be turned over.
I
So,
brought that up like 10 years ago,
yeah.
12 years ago, maybe.
So that's what this one is. It's not a new one. It's still trying to work through some of the older developments out there.
Has she signed off on a quitclaim deeds or no?
Not on this one yet, no. That's what we're trying to get, yes. So we got a couple a year or two ago for the extension south. This one in particular is to connect Municipal Street between Stella and Connie.
Has anybody talked to her
Yes.
Yes,
besides the attorney? I mean,
I have not.
Not staff, but yes, others have talked to her too, yes.
So I presume we're at this point, because this is really the only option that we have at this particular point to involve the attorney. I guess, is that what you're getting at, Steve?
I talked to her before Stan died, and my understanding was why would she want to continue to pay taxes on these parcels that can't be used? And it was something that when the plat was approved, those parcels were supposed to be quitclaim to the village, and the village ended up spending a lot of money enforcing it against, I think it was Bushka and two other people, Connie and Stan, and then one other person, if I remember right, there's 3 people. But if it would have been done right when the plat was approved, all of that would have happened at the same time. See it, and they've been paying taxes on it for like 10, 15 years. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, spending money.
And now, the last time I talked to her was, I think I was on either the planning or on here, and I was talking to her about a different matter. And I asked her about that. Why do you want to keep doing that? And Stan kind of laughed and kind of used some choice words that, well, you guys have been taxing me for all these years. I'm entitled to that. So, I mean, there was a big disconnect, and now with Stan being gone, I think it might even be worse. So I'm hoping that somebody here is talking to her, not just that the attorney is beginning a lawsuit against them. It just is bad.
Well, it's not a lawsuit. It's trying to have the attorney knows what the process, what needs to be done.
I understand that, but I'm just saying from a function standpoint, having somebody talking to them or talking to her, not from a legal aspect.
Yeah.
I know that the quitclaim deeds gets it done. It's common sense, but if an attorney approaches it right away, people are going to be responding a little bit differently than if staff was to talk to her about the wisdom of deeding it over. I know that Matt is going to be able to do it legally. I'm no doubt in my mind. I'm just saying from a cost standpoint, from a reputational standpoint, we could do it a little bit better.
Noted.
Anybody else? Details? And you're looking for a motion as relates to 5, 6, and 7.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to acknowledge
Acknowledge, yes.
5, 6, and 7. I got a motion from my now. Is there a second? Second by Ermeling. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to number 8. Nate, take it away.
Well, thanks for having me tonight. For the new members, I'm Nate Crow, Technology Services Director. Tonight I'll cover 3 things. What my department does, what it costs, and why it's worth it. I'll try to keep it tight and leave plenty of room for questions. First off, I guess the previous slide, not that it matters that much, but staff, that's me. This is a department of 1. So 1 person covering GIS, IT, the network, the servers, and all the software the village runs on. And it's not all on the tax levy. So the water and sewer utilities fund about 45-46% of the position. Because a lot of what we do, or I do, runs their systems. Next. Here's the range of what the department covers. GIS and mapping, the network and security, servers and backup, Microsoft 365 and email, the phones, the software every department depends on, and the apps built in-house. Here's what that means for one person. I have to be generally knowledgeable in every one of these areas. In most organizations, each of these is a separate position or sometimes a whole team. We would run historically pretty lean here. And this department's a prime example. We have other ones, building inspectors handling maintenance, clerks handling marketing and public relations, Renee handling payroll, HR, farmers market. It's kind of been the way we've done things here for a while. I've been here 22 years. The number of employees in this building isn't all that different from the number we had when I started. We've been a leader in technology services in our area, and the biggest reason is simple: we've had to. Most of this is invisible until it stops working. My budget overview, next slide. The 26 operating budget is 141,745. To be clear, this number is the operating budget. Software, hardware, websites, phones does not include my salary, and it doesn't include what the utilities pay for their own funds. I'll show you that in a full all funds total near the end. Software is the biggest single piece here. One thing to flag up front though, about 32,000 of this budget covers copiers, postage, office supplies, credit card fees for the whole building. Those items have always lived in this account, but it's not really technology spending. Next.
Real quick question, Nate.
Yeah.
So with the credit card fees, are we paying a lot of those fees or are we charging that on?
We passed those on.
Okay, so it's just the pass.
Fully, but so like the aquatic center, there is a percentage that's passed on. Then we do have like annual fees as well. But the cost per transaction is passed on. Thank you. Yeah, software and licensing. It is the heart of the budget. The real village runs about $126,000 in software across all funds. But the general fund pays only about 55,000 of that, about 43%. Water and sewer carry most of the rest because they are the heaviest users. So when you see a big software number, remember the tax levy is paying for under half of that. Next. What the software does. Quick tour of where that goes, I guess. The systems that run the whole village, like Microsoft 365 and our finance software, Excel. We have GIS and engineering tools, WaterCAD, tools that engineers are needing. Evolve, which one's permitting, licensing, and code enforcement, resident-facing things like the website and online bill pay. And then we have low-cost, high-value stuff, the Power Platform that we use to build apps in-house is about $1,200 a year. Next. Worth the expense. The Esri is the basis of the GIS program that we have. That's the highest line item. The utilities do pay for about 80% of it. In our diggers hotline locate, responses are legally required. Those are not optional. And that's very key for what they do out there as far as locating those. Cloud backup is a new one. I noted in here that the tornado made the case for it. Some of you know I was personally affected by that this year. So I understand what it's like to have a loss, and we don't exactly have that happen here. And we have on-site backup, but we are now backing up to the cloud to make sure if something disastrous were to happen, either natural disaster or cyber attack, that we can get back up and running quickly. It's part of our disaster response plan. Zoom versus Teams. I know we do have a Teams license as part of our Office 365. But we do run these meetings through Zoom. That happened during the pandemic. We bought some Zoom equipment at the time that allowed us to get up and running and get meetings online to everybody. So when we built the system at this building, it is vendor agnostic. So in the future, we could look to moving the Teams. We just still have some hardware in that closet back there that still runs off of Teams. And once we're looking to get that replaced, I think we could maybe make a move to Teams and save some money there. And then I mentioned Power Platform, the cheapest line, the biggest return. It's what we've been using to build in-house applications on the Diggers Hotline app, timesheet app, inspection, mobile and home inspection app. And all those are done without having to purchase them. Next slide. What we don't spend on consultants. Over the last 6 years, we've averaged under $4,000 a year on outside IT consultants while running the whole enterprise. Almost 90% of even that was just 2 one-time projects, the server upgrade and then the camera system at the pool. So in a normal year, it's a few $100s. 2 of the last 4 years were 0. So next slide. What we brought in-house, I guess concrete proof of that. We stopped paying outside vendors to film and stream our meetings back on the pandemic and brought it in-house. That saved about $2,000 a year in what we were paying outside help to help with that. Diggers Hotline system, those other items, we built those instead of buying them. Our goal moving forward is to keep doing that, build in-house and replace more of what we pay for today. Next. The rest of the budget. Briefly, the rest, capital hardware for scheduled PC replacement, phones and internet. One that we're both shopping that again right now as our current contract is about to come up. So hopefully we may get some savings there. The website, the general office line that I mentioned earlier for supplies. And then on outside services, we budget $14,000 there on purpose. It's the cushion that brings us help and fast when we need it. And I'll come back to that here in a minute. Next slide. Total costs, to put it all together. This is the total cost of the department across every fund. Remember that 141,745 operating budget from earlier? Add my salary account to it and you're about 224 in general fund. Then add what's water and sewer utilities pay directly and their share of software in my position of about 137 and you land roughly at 361 all in. The general fund, your tax dollars carry about 62% of that and the utilities cover the other 38 from their rates, not from taxes. Next. I mentioned I'd be touching on something else again here, cyber security and rapid response. It's important to note right now, there's a coordinated cyber attack hitting water systems across the country. I don't know if you've noticed that on the news, anyone, but it started in Minnesota. It's down in a dozen states and federal agencies say utilities of every size are targets. We run public water and sewer. We have some defenses in place, but no one whose full-time job is to look after it. These threats move in days, not budget cycles. So what I'm asking, I guess, with that 14,000 is that we have that ability to respond quickly to incidents like that or any other incidents that might affect just the village as well. So similar to like Public Works, having plenty of plow blades and parts on hand. You don't want to be stuck with nothing in the middle of winter when you have to respond to a storm. So next. I'll leave you at that, I guess. I guess a lot of what my department does goes unnoticed until it stops working. So thankfully, as of recently, I don't get a ton of attention. And that's probably a good thing because if I did, there might be something going wrong. So any questions?
You think, Renee?
Other than he does a very good job. I'm sure the staff doesn't have to hear, oh, it's the software. No, it's the hardware. No, it's the software. And have people coming back and forth. Just kind of. I've dealt with that.
We should maybe just mention for our new members too, that we've done a series of these presentations with the other departments and I could send you those prior presentations if you would like, kind of joining towards the end with IT, but I can send you the ones for the other departments just so you'd have them.
That would be great.
It's great information because starting next week, we start our 2027 budget meetings. Part of this committee, you guys should be part of it, so give you some background knowledge before that all starts.
I just have a question of who your backup.
I don't necessarily have a solid, anyone here in the building. Do have a relationship with Heartland Business Systems, who I rely on. I guess that is the consultant that we rely on for major projects, like if we're doing sort of a replacement, things like that. That's too much for one person to handle. So they're familiar with our system. So if something were to happen, they would be the first one that we would enlist for their help.
The reason why I ask is you always hear about, what if an unforeseen accident or person leaves the job?
Mhm.
What happens then? That's why I was wanting to know what happens if you're not around.
Yeah, in years past, we had some staff on with us that were more savvy, I guess, that were able to help out. We don't currently have anything like that right now. But whenever I am off or leave the building, I do reach out to Heartland to let them know that they're on call.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
You mentioned moving or building apps in-house. I assume that's you building
Yes.
them?
Yep.
Are you maintaining those two? Like what happened? I don't know much about IT.
Yeah.
But I assume that there's some maintenance and sustainability behind that. Is there a cost to that as well? Or can
Yeah, so-
you elaborate a little bit on that for me?
Recently, I would say in the last 5+ years, a lot of there's been progress in app development where you don't have to be like a genius or a coder to get it all out. So we use Power Platform, which is Microsoft's version. So it's baked in with Office 365. So there's a lot big support team there. I went to the annual conference last year. So that, I guess, there's a lot of support from the Microsoft side on that.
So you're not using AI or anything like that for the coding behind it. You're using all of. Microsoft to do it?
I would say I use AI as an assistant in the coding. I think most coders do now, in the sense that like you can debug some of your code to see if things aren't working. You can enter that in, and it'll provide what was not working, I guess, for you.
And you're hosting those locally, the apps locally?
Those apps are hosted through Microsoft's 365 cloud.
Okay.
Part of our Power Platform's an additional 1,200 on top of that, what we all pay for per user basis.
And then ongoing maintenance is assisted through.
Yeah, it's part of
through
your fee.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Mike, you always raise your hand and I know.
Yeah, I guess just to add on to that, so we've looked at a lot of different asset management softwares, and everybody always tries to sell us on their version. And probably for 10+ years, I've said when we get a Digger's Hotline ticket emailed into us, do you have a software where that will put a pin on a map and show us where it is? And everyone's like, oh yeah, we can do that. I'm like, okay, cool. Can you show me how that works? There's not a software out there that has been able to do that. And I told Nate if he can ever figure out how to do that, I would be like one of the happiest people in the world. Because our operators, when they're out in the field and a ticket comes in, it'll ping them. And if they're 1 block away, they can be like, oh, cool, there's a location here. I can go take care of that. They put their initials on it, or they just do it now. And it'll say it's done by John or Dave or Chad. So historically, Digger's tickets got printed off. You'd come in the morning, you would have a stack of tickets. You'd have to sort through them, try to remember where they were. And then maybe at lunchtime, you'd grab the stack again and see what came in through that morning. So just in the staff time of having to drive back and forth, or, somebody just did 3 locates in this neighborhood on the southwest side of the village. They drove 15 minutes back here. All of a sudden, there was 2 more I needed to go do. So a lot of our operational efficiencies, Nate mentioned we talked to even the city of Wausau or other communities around us. They are impressed about the online mapping they have. Our guys with the iPads to being able to see their work orders, the workflows, where our utilities are all located. is something that other communities around us don't have. So that just from an operation standpoint, if it wasn't for some of these tools, I'd probably be asking for, another 2 or 3 bodies in our utility department. Just because there's a lot of work that gets done, and we don't waste the time driving back and forth. When I first started, guys would come back and have to grab physical hard copy maps and take them back out there with them to make sure they knew where they were going. So there's a huge value, I guess, maybe a hidden value in a lot of the stuff that has been developed over the years.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Nate. Okay, moving on to old business. It looks like we don't have any. New business, number 9, discussion and or action on establishing the 2027 budget priorities. What's that one, Jessica, Jamie?
I can start, we can have a conversation together. So there was an RFC in the packet that just outlined the start of a conversation. None of the items that are marked as priorities or as future decision points are at this point worked into the budget. As Trustee Olson mentioned, next week we start the joint meetings on the 24th. So this conversation is going to happen both here and at the board. And with having this conversation is where we would start to pull that information to put it into the budget if the committee and the board feel like these are priorities that we want to see the numbers for, and we want to see how they would work into the budget, if they even have the potential of being worked into the budget or into the capital plan or within any of the utility accounts. So, and maybe it's a split between all of them. I think the list was just really having those conversations with the directors as a starting point, just to kind of get the brain flowing on things that we're thinking about, future things that we're thinking about, and wanting to put that to the board to say, okay, this is the start of a conversation. What are you guys thinking about?
Anybody? Well, everybody's thinking, quick question. Are the priority items, did you list those in order of priority? Like, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, or just a random order?
Just in a random order.
Okay.
Obviously, we've had a conversation previously about the 3 positions at Safer. We talked about that at the last board meeting, but no, they're not in a number order.
Well, I think maintaining the staffing levels would be. I mean, we're lean as it is. I would hate to think that we would be cutting staff when we're barely keeping our head above water in some departments, just,
Part of the strategic plan, I guess, what is, find out the right phrase, the industry standard on how often that needs to be done? Is a 2-year-old one, easily able to be modified slightly to continue working for us, or should we be starting fresh every 2 years with a new one?
I would think a conversation with the board would be, a first conversation would be, do the mission, vision, and values that are in that plan still match where we're at?
Okay.
Obviously, if those still match, the goals can be slightly adjusted, but if those won't match, then I think it would be time for a new plan.
because there was some questions about, well, I understand the maintenance person. Our building inspector does our maintenance. We've done that for quite a few years. But I'm also cautious of adding staff at this point because we're looking at Safer and possible in the future adding, and I kind of like to approach cautiously adding staff. But I guess I was going to ask on this robot, I think I'm going to get one, robotic lawnmowers. What, don't they have to be someone watching them?
No.
No?
They can be programmed, so the school district uses them I know at the middle school and at their admin building, and I'm guessing probably in other places too. Talking to their building and grounds director, he says they're his best employees. They'll work 24 hours a day and they don't take days off or complain, but they do get stuck once in a while. Well, I guess the thought is if we can get those, we have some high demand mowing periods in May before we have summer help and some of those items. So if we have mowers around some of our facilities, that frees up staff time to go do more, I guess, if you call it more highly skilled jobs than just mowing lawns. So, whether it's this building, the safety building, Yellow Banks Park, Mock Miller Park, some of these areas where we have large grass areas. It,
Well, you can or is the thought you can mow the.
yeah, you draw like a
safety building
perimeter.
And then can you take that somewhere else?
Oh, that one would just live at the safety building,
Okay.
but it might mow like, a fifth of the yard on Monday and then the next fifth on Tuesday. So it would mow a portion of it each day. And then it'd have to go back and charge itself. So I
Are you
think
comfortable with the quality of cut?
if you've been to the middle school soccer complex, that is a really good quality. So I guess I'd see what they're using there and if we can get that type of cut, yes, that's
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
The cuts I've seen are not. the
yeah.
same.
And there's probably a difference between a residential, one you buy from Menards versus one you'd get from a commercial mowing distributor.
Or were you thinking one to try out and then
Yeah.
possibly a second one following year if it works?
If it proves to be worthwhile, then yeah, I mean, otherwise we're using $100,000 mowers and staff at, $20+ an hour to mow these facilities when, I guess that'd be looking at the lifetime of a mower, but if it can last 5 years, that's $1,000 a year. That's probably a better return on investment than we're getting with some of our larger equipment, so.
We did have two in the memo. We were thinking here in the public safety building to start, but if it's one, it would be one, but
Well, I guess I would caution to the wind is just if it didn't quite work out as good as we thought it was gonna be, or the cut wasn't as good as you thought.
Yeah.
If we invested in two, you got two of them. Now, at least you invest in one and you can decide whether you want the second one. Or
Go get the ones that they use up at the Plaza Insurance Building. Whatever that one is, don't use it.
All right.
Cause it looks terrible and I twice gone to see my doctor and it's stuck on one of their islands.
Sure.
So I'm just saying that it's not very good, that one.
Yeah, and it might not remove all the mowing. There'd still likely be some trimming, but if it can do 90% of the work, I think.
too bad it can't do the ditch lines.
Yeah. They do make robotic mowers for ditches, but you gotta, it's more or less for steep slopes, so you still have to have somebody controlling it.
Right.
You don't risk the chances of an employee rolling over and injuring themselves. And then I did want to just mention for that facilities grounds position. Between the utilities and TIF 1, we currently do pay a contracted mowing service for several properties throughout the village. So with the closure of TIF 1, I guess that's a decision of, do we try to bring those mowing areas in-house or do we keep contracting it and then that becomes a general fund expense and it's still a utility expense. So that would be, I think we're around 25,000 a year. So that's 25,000 that we're paying currently for mowing. So I guess we call it a new position, but it'd be $25,000 that would go towards that person. So that'd become part of their responsibility as well.
Okay, so we're going to replace outside services with in-house.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be
That
100%
makes
of a
sense.
position, but maybe it covers a third of the position. And then there's other work that definitely they would be able to assist with throughout the year.
Where's your contract work being done? I'm just curious.
Where?
Yeah, what,
It's primarily, well, all of our wells and lift stations, water towers, those locations throughout the village. And then we have several berms and stormwater ponds and entrance areas in the business park that are mowed and maintained by it used to be Riverview Construction. They switched the mowing entity's name this year, but they come through weekly just to keep that area, I guess, looking nice. Right now, they're probably not out mowing, so we don't get billed, but generally it is a weekly service that they provide. In some of those areas, other areas are once every 2 weeks.
The park is annually.
Well, the dog park we have to do no matter what. That's a landfill cost. So.
Since you brought that up, I actually had that noted for the next meeting off the financials. So it looks like there's like $6,600 spent in June for mowing the business park and utility properties.
Yeah.
Is that once a week?
I guess some properties are once a week. Some are, like I said, every other. I think the berms are every other. And then,
Might be an impossible question, so don't answer it if you can't answer it off the top of your head. Roughly how many hours of work do you think they're putting in for us for a month for $6,600?
I have to,
That's why I said it's kind of an impossible question. Sorry, I didn't put you on the spot, but I was just curious because it seems like a big number, but I also don't really have anything to compare against how much they're actually mowing and how much space that actually is and how much time it takes.
Can we get it as an hourly number? Is it billed by hour? Is it billed by?
It's flat.
It's, yeah, I mean, I think it was a contract to do it, so I don't know
yeah,
that.
our price hasn't changed in, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years from that, from our contracted service. And we did put it out for bid in, I want to say 2013, 2014. And they've pretty much held their price for that duration.
Yeah, I was trying to put some context to it, like how many hours of work does that get us? Is it 10 hours a month? Is it 30 hours a month? Is it,
Yeah.
just to try to make that make sense to me, so.
Have you added additional? I don't want to length or whatever, as an example, from Birch to Alderson, obviously you have a new walking path that was put in with redoing that and it was put on our side, so I'm assuming we're maintaining it, but have you added a lot of additional space, or is it like Birch Street, there's a walking path and?
Yeah, well, we mow those ditches at the same rates. We mowed them before there was a path there and it was still just a ditch. If the adjacent property owners want to mow it more frequently, they're more than they can. Some I know on Birch Street will maintain that ditch along the path more as their yard, and there's others that kind of let it go until we come through kind of once a month and knock it down with the ditch mowing. So as far as that goes, we haven't increased our ditch mowing because there's a path there.
Yeah, just curious.
It's overall, Jamie, what's the goal? Is to have a discussion? Are you looking for some sort of action from this body?
To have a discussion into if the body felt like there were items that you wanted to see the numbers for or move forward with or try and work into the budget, we would be looking for the feedback now. Like I mentioned, we would mention that feedback at the board tonight. We'd be looking for their feedback. And then as we start to put together the budget next week with the numbers that you see, those items would be in there.
So hypothetically, we like all of them. Is that something like in the next week or so, you'd have the time to put together 11 potential costs for all of them, or are you looking for us to be a little bit more selective? I mean, I don't want to waste your time unnecessarily, but I could see it going a lot of different ways as far as discussions, different priorities, different committee members, different board members. And I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to, strategic plan and dollars, right? So I guess I wouldn't mind seeing all of them, but I don't also want to make you do work in the next week that's gonna drown you with all the different stuff to do.
I guess I would throw back out the question, does everyone want to see all of them? Are there things that the committee members have feelings about that aren't on the list? That would be the least.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Because I'm not familiar with reading the reports yet. For the TIF report, was there salary allocated to the TIFs?
Yes.
Is one of them allocated to TIF 1 that says it's going to close in October?
Yes.
Yes, we
And
got
so-
about, was it 200 thousand coming back to the general fund that is now in the TIF.
Thank you. That was my question.
And Jessica's work to update the budget sheets to reflect that coming back.
Perfect. Thank you.
See here, I'm just looking in rereading. I guess I can look at I look at that maintenance position and if it's going to also, do you feel they do some mowings and things like that also? It wouldn't just be keeping the building, I mean. if
Yeah, it'd be
something
all
goes
of our
wrong-
facilities, so well houses, lift stations, our Ryan Street site,
I mean, if it does lift stations, of course, then
that's
that's
all.
billed back to us, so.
Yeah,
Correct.
I split the
Credited back.
position. I'm almost thinking 50-50 with the utilities because even the maintenance in this building, we got a lot of utility use in this building, a lot of utility employees and they take up some spots, park their vehicles in here, so we could probably justify that.
Because just for maintenance, I guess I couldn't really, when you're thinking of maintenance of the building and whatnot all, I guess I would kind of,
Part of the
Pause.
struggle for this year has been garage doors. The garage doors, both here in the safety building, seem to be breaking often. Between Roman and Travis, they try to do that, but it's building season. They're trying to get out and permits done.
right,
And then these garage doors stay broken because there's not someone ready and getting those fixed, getting that scheduled, the contractor coming and stuff. So I think that's part of what we're thinking too, is just somebody to help fix the faucets, the toilets, garage doors, stuff that's breaking. That we really didn't anticipate. I don't think.
yeah, because I know at one point in time, our park seemed that he has helped do some maintenance at one point in time, especially in winter when it wasn't quite so busy and what. But,
We envision the position helping during peak time for parks and peak time for public works too. I mean, they would be multifaceted.
okay, so it isn't just a maintenance, it is, involves other things besides just maintenance, okay.
Yeah, I guess the facilities grounds is our parks, our shelters, our bathrooms out there, our facilities, so.
Okay,
And if you're able to add staff, I like the idea of having people who are multifaceted so that they can do lots of things. Would it be possible with that, not just like from a money standpoint, but maybe kind of extrapolate out a little bit further, kind of some of the things you would envision that position doing so that we can kind of see all the different ways that would be beneficial in multiple different departments? Just to kind of expand on that a little bit.
We can bring back a draft job description.
that would help. I
Yeah.
think to justify, if we're gonna recommend this position, I think we need to know a little more than just maintenance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts?
Recap, just for when we take the conversation to the board, I heard one more, try it out, and
Mhm.
let's flesh out and work more on the facilities and ground maintenance position.
Any other things for committee members?
Well, I think the safer is self, that's a done deal. If you
Yeah,
will.
I think the public's made it very, very clear that that's
So
importance for them, so certainly.
that isn't even in the equation that's there.
Okay.
So is there any specific things we want Jamie to try to price? Anything you don't want her to look at, things that aren't on the list, like she said?
Are you just looking at those priority items, not the decision points for future planning, just the top ones?
Both.
Or you're looking at the full list?
The whole list. Decision points, some of those we're gonna have larger conversations about, like the aquatic center is also a conversation this afternoon, but we just wanted to get those kind of in the thinking process too.
So I'm curious,
Okay.
I just ask, is that the TID one fund balance forward to borrowing that you have here on into the decision points? Has that been researched that, and that's legal to do that? To apply towards future borrowings?
Once the TIF closes, the final monies have to be distributed amongst the taxing jurisdictions by the last percentage, so last year's percentage. So we do anticipate getting some funds back that instead of putting them towards operations, it would make sense to put them towards one-time use. You don't wanna skew your operations with one-time funding, so.
But it's distributed as a percentage of what we would have received in regular tax revenue, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
So if we, let's just say it's $100,000 and.
You can put that $100,000 where you want.
Right. But if 15% of our revenue goes to the county,
Mhm.
we would apply that 15% of whatever that balance is to the county then, correct? Or-
Yeah, we will distribute the funds with the check to the other taxing jurisdictions, and what's left over, we're recommending going to capital.
Okay, all right.
Anything else? Awesome. One of many discussions of this that will be happening here in the next couple of months. Okay, moving on to number 10, discussion or action recommending the contract for a final audit of TIF one.
Did we need to make a motion?
No, I took down the
Okay,
priority items that will,
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
appreciate that.
So last meeting, I brought the regular contract. This time I'm bringing forth a TIF audit. So when you close a TIF, you're required to have an outside auditor audit. The DOR has certain things that they need to look at and report on, and then you need to upload that final audit report to the state. So we're looking at having Hawkins come back and perform the TIF audit, final TIF, and their quote price is $5,210. Which I think is reasonable. They have always been one of the lowest, and they have done our last TIF audit. So I think it would make sense to go with them.
Discussions, questions for Jessica? Not, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ermling, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Minell. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to number 11, discussion and or action on employee appreciation, including a standing monthly staff recognition agenda item. So this is something that I had brought up last month's meeting. This is also, I believe, on the Board of Trustees agenda tonight, correct? So just looking to kind of brainstorm ways, things that we can do to recognize our village staff and all the different things that they do, many times without anybody really knowing all the things that they do. So just looking to have a discussion on, do we want to have a monthly standing agenda item? Is there other things that we want to do just from this committee's standpoint? And then Board of Trustees would potentially be taking or discussing that tonight as well.
Well, I don't know, I assume, because I used to go to them and I don't anymore. Do you still have the all staff meetings?
Yes.
And do you still do your acknowledge someone that has excelled or done above and beyond? Or?
We don't anymore. We stopped doing that. I don't want to say it turned into a little bit of a disagreement at times as far as what is somebody's job and what is going above and beyond.
Right.
And that started becoming a point of contention with staff because somebody would get recognized for, say, I don't know, to helping out a customer really well. And they're like, hey, you helped out that customer. And they're like, well, that's kind of their job, is to help out that customer at the counter, whereas, I'm not getting an award for patching a pothole really well, but I did. That pothole didn't come back for, another year. So that was the hard part on that, is trying to balance that, and it sometimes made some people a little more sour than
Yeah.
appreciative of it.
I think it would be nice even if something was something really exceptional. I can remember even like some got it because they helped at an election and they really did well and they helped, but that's what they were supposed to be doing. You know, it was kind of one of those things you have to be careful. I can remember one though that was they thought some of the guys coming in early to start up the tar thing. That was a kind of a over and above. They were thinking beyond, you know, stuff like that, I think is what we want to look for, not just somebody doing their job well, which they should be doing. That's my, that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else? One of the things I had suggested last meeting, and I think that's where the standing monthly agenda item came from, is just something at the beginning of each of our committee meetings that allows department heads the opportunity to recognize their department or an individual who did something great that month, or, you know, when we had the 14 inches of snow or 14 feet of snow, whatever it was, and DPW had the roads all cleared in a short amount of time. And just an opportunity to publicly recognize, you know, those different encomiums that people can share at the beginning of each meeting. Some meetings, maybe there won't be any, some there may be more, but it's just a way to make sure staff knows that we know what they're doing, that we appreciate all of those things that they do, that again, most times we don't know that are being done, they're just being done, and maybe sometimes that gets taken for granted.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, right? Because we want to recognize all the great things that we do. And I know that was always a downfall I know I have is we don't tell our story well enough. People realize what we do when all of a sudden something goes wrong. They generally don't realize what we do when things are working correctly. You know, all of a sudden you don't have water coming out of your faucet, or you have, you know, flooding in your basement or something like that. Then all of a sudden we're the idiots who didn't know how to do our job right. But so I guess that does become the hard part, is we honestly have a lot of guys that try to be in the shadows. We're just trying to do the work and let the society around us function so that, you know, we can have a great community that everybody wants to live in and work in and come recreate in. So, you know, our employees, I would say, are generally a pretty humble bunch. They want to come in, do their job well, and go home. So, but we do internally, we'll recognize each other, you know, but sometimes it's that pat on the back, or, you know, just acknowledgement in a Thursday morning meeting of, hey, you guys really kicked butt the other day and got that project done quickly. So, but I think we definitely probably need to do a better job of letting people know what it is we all do. Even, you know, Nate's presentation, I mean, a lot of things that happen behind the scenes when he's on vacation, you're calling him at, you know, 5 p.m, he can quickly remote in and get your computer working again is invaluable. So, you know, a lot of those things go unnoticed, go unheard. So.
Well, and I think sometimes, and I don't know if you get them anymore or not, but we used to get letters from residents that said, gee, this person went on. I know I had gotten phone calls at different times, and I put their name in when we had the staff presentation. And, you know, to kind of give them that, you know, they went out of their way to help resident or whatever. I think that's, you know, a good acknowledgement of what.
I don't know that we always need a standing agenda item to do that. I think
Right.
if there is that feeling, I think the trustees have spoken up and shared that under trustee remarks if they have felt that, or if they've gotten phone calls or calls. And I think all of the department heads feel comfortable in speaking up and sharing that too during the meeting if they think it should be said.
My biggest concern is, yes, we need to acknowledge, and like the snowstorm, to acknowledge the fact that the road crew did an excellent job getting that taken care of in a period of time. We can just acknowledge it at whatever, you know, board meeting. It's, you know. It, like Michael said, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You give somebody that a boy, and the other one's going, well, I worked alongside of them, how come I didn't get it? You know, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Any other thoughts? Yeah.
In exit interviews, people said, well, I leaving because I feel unappreciated.
We had this conversation actually at the last meeting. Those exact words, no, we've had recent conversations about how we have more public comments that may be that are felt critical, that aren't necessarily people in the room, but through social media or through online sources. And sometimes even in meetings, and it's felt like, how do we express to staff that that's not a representation of everyone? That's a very small subset, but more and more today carries a louder impact.
the only other thing I could think of is if we see that, I don't always watch or look at all that next door and whatever. I do some, but not, if you hear negative on a particular employer, department or whatever, and you feel it's not justified, to bring it up and say, you know.
I mean, I'll just go and say it. Our Cintas discussion was a real hard cultural discussion. Because we went from our staff has this benefit to all of a sudden, well, maybe they don't deserve it, is how it's interpreted. So those discussions even, like I said, staff watches these meetings after the fact, and all of a sudden they start talking. Like those are the things where all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm not valued enough, or just because this other community does it differently, I should lose my, payback or reimbursement. So some of it is those discussions more so than, hey, you did a bad job today. It's just feeling valued, feeling like you're a positive contributor. We're talking budget and, do we really need to add this position? Should we not add this position? As I mentioned, we got 5 utility operators. If we're down to 4 or our 8 guys in the street. We had 11 when I started. We're down to 10 if we include our mechanics. So that's roughly a 10% employee, decrease. And then it's, well, do we really need to add back in? So, for years, those staff members have taken on more. So we've had to innovate of how can we utilize technology or other things to improve productivity so we can at least keep doing status quo work. So it's some of those discussions, I'd say more so, and not feeling valued is sometimes you feel like you're getting picked over, or priorities are going elsewhere versus you and I guess that's where I was trying to say too, we don't maybe always recognize all the hidden value that our staff provides. Because if we had to contract out for a lot of this work that our crew does out on the street or in the utilities, we'd be paying a lot more than their hourly rate. So I guess that's where some of that kind of maybe comes from is we do our best to keep spirits up, but we can't always control what they hear or how they feel about other things.
Well, I guess I just want to comment on the fact that, and I don't think people always realize that, my road the whole section is a dead end that goes down, but is going to be, have a, what is that?
Overlay.
Overlay, I would say outlay, and I thought that's not it, an overlay. And I was delivered a little letter today telling us what they were gonna do and how, how we would be able to get through, but it's gonna be difficult and when they're laying it. And it was a very nice letter to let us know that, this is gonna be coming up. And I appreciated it. Even though I knew it, I still appreciated the letter,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but I guess how do you determine what is over and beyond the call of duty?
It's the,
Yeah, that's the moving part. You're never gonna know 100%, right? I mean, because again, working in the public sector, generally, you're always working generally above and beyond, or, innovating and finding ways to do things that need to get done because they just need to get done in some way. You know, just as a thought too, I mean, do we want to maybe reach back to the staff and just say, hey, you know, what can we do as a committee to make sure that, you know, we appreciate what you do? I don't know how that would play out with the different staff of all the department heads in the room, but see if they have something that they think we could do to maybe support them or let them know that we support.
Buying donuts.
Oh, I mean, buying donuts always works, but like, just thinking more long-term
Yeah, I
than
know.
just tomorrow morning breakfast, right? But maybe they can kind of give us some guidance on what we can do to help them.
Right.
So that they know that we know.
Or even office staff, I mean, what, I know they get some crabby people, you know. And appreciate how they handle them. And
We have our next all staff next week and we can certainly just add it to the agenda to see if there are immediate items or if they will give some time to think about it too, and if they want to share things with.
well, yeah, how should the board or the committee or whoever respond to some of these negatives? Or should we, you know, I mean, I haven't a problem with it, but.
And I don't know that the negatives are, I'm certainly not suggesting that you're getting into a lengthy conversation on a social media platform.
No, I won't.
Just to echo what Michael's saying, in this room, you have that voice.
Right.
Right, and to point out if those things are incorrect or if they're not from valid sources or to set the record right, this is that space.
Right.
Let's speak for a little while. So we want to push that to next month, with follow up, Jamie after she talks to staff, gets feedback. We can determine from there what we want to do. See some head nods, I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, moving on to number 12, discussion and interaction on the continuing conversations of an ethics function as it pertains to village communities, commissions and staff. This was also a thing that I initially brought up, just to kind of give some background, and then my intent isn't to really get into a discussion today, just because our new members, I'm not expecting you to delve in that deep on your first meeting, but looking at potential of a ethics function for the village and you know, what the parameters could be or would be, or if we would have one, who it would apply to, whether it's staff, committees, commissions, or all the above. It was brought to the Board of Trustees, who indicated they had some interest in it being explored, and they assigned it to this committee to explore it. So tonight, Jamie got the process from our neighboring municipality, Wassa, and just kind of their policy on what they do. All the things that they put into theirs is about an 11-page ordinance here. I'm not sure if everybody got time to read it, but ultimately, each month we're gonna work on, you know, this project. What do we think we need? Do we think we need something? What should it look like? What should it entail? And all those different pieces. We kind of held off because we wanted to involve as many citizens as possible. Barbara and myself, obviously being trustees. So welcome to our new members. So, you know, looking to get that feedback really as much as we can from the three of you guys, and hopefully our fourth vacant member that we fill soon, to what you think that should be. Because ultimately, if something were to be put in place, that's likely, I would think, something that should be citizen driven pretty heavily, if not entirely.
I don't know if it's in our policy now or not, or as an employee acting kind of in the capacity of the village without authority.
As you're asking the question, I don't know that it's part of ethics as far as. Can you give me a more
Well,
specific example?
I always think years back at the county, there was an employee that went to actually a meeting and acted, I mean, he gave an opinion of what he thought should be done. And it actually turned out to be contrary to what the county was promoting, and everybody thought the county was promoting. Or letters written with letterheads of the village, but not approved by the board. You know, stuff like that, but.
So I think, again, from tonight's perspective, I know we have a closed session and not the rush, the next meeting starts in 22 minutes.
Right.
But just give it some thought over the next month, what you guys would like to see, if you like to see anything, what that should entail. I think this is gonna be a process that's going to take a period of time, which is completely fine. But just give you the kind of an introduction and a month to kind of ponder over what you think and those types of things.
To clarify,
Yeah.
is it, that there isn't anything right now and this is just a.
So there's a policy and ethics now that was in the last month's board packet.
But there's not a committee.
There's not a committee,
Okay.
there's no, it kind of ends, if, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of ends with reporting it to a department head. If you believe there's some sort of unethical behavior, it obviously doesn't really apply to elected officials or anything like that as well. So,
I can review the, I
yeah.
can review the last one.
Yeah. What I was reading from what Wausau has and that last month's meeting, I think it's certainly something we should consider moving forward.
Awesome. So like I said, we'll move this to next month. Again, it's, again, I suspect it'll be a multi-month discussion as we work through it, but again, I don't want to put you guys on the spot and demand your feedback on your first night with just first hearing about this.
You might want to consider getting other samples besides Wausau.
We are working on that. Also was just a pretty easy one to get in this week's timeframe. So Jimmy and I will work on that to get some. Okay, if nothing else, looking for a motion to move into closed session for the purposes of reviewing the pay grade classifications, for the utility clerk and the fleet foreman for possible reclassification.
Make a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, to consider employment promotion compensation or performance evaluation data of any public employee which the government body has jurisdiction and exercises responsibility to it.
Motion by Ermling, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Rickert. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we need a roll call vote on this. So,
Yes.
Tom,
Ermeling,
Aye.
Now,
Aye.
Olson,
aye.
Savalkov.
I
Aye. So at that point, thank you for all those that came.
Actually,
Okay, we're back in open session, looking for a potential motion.
I'll make a motion to go ahead with the recommendation for closed session.
Motion by Ermling, is there a second? Second by Polanco. Oh, I got it. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any remarks from any of our staff in the room? Yeah, a lot
Well,
of-
I was gonna let you know that at the last board meeting, the village board agreed on the Mountain Bay Police Headquarters, the drawing and the bid. So with the timing of that, the finance department reached out to local banks for a $4 million loan to get that moving quickly, because when we go out to market, it takes a lot longer. We wouldn't be getting our money for a few months. So with the local banks, what I got back was very competitive. So at the next meeting, the board will be hopefully approving a local bank loan for the Mountain Bay Police Headquarters, our portion of it. So I just wanted to update finance HR with the quick turnaround. We didn't have a lot of time for that, so I just brought it straight to the board, but wanted to let you know what we did.
Any others from staff? Okay, any remarks from committee members? Christina? Barb? Daniel?
Nope.
Steve? Awesome. Remarks from chair. I'm just going to say welcome to our new members. We are happy to have you here. Thank you for joining it. Probably arguably one of the hardest times to be in this position with the number of meetings that are coming up here in the next couple of months. But just know that generally we meet on a monthly basis the next couple of months aside. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
right during budget, which is,
Future items, there's a whole lot of meeting dates on there. Jamie, did you already send out invites to our new members on the
Yes.
Outlook? Okay, so everybody should have all of those on their calendar. If not, they are printed out on the agenda there for you. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion by Minell, second. Second by Pavelko. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?